So Howie Roseman has been promoted, and Chip Kelly has all the power. Mike Owens is here. I'm Adrian Fedke. Couple of shakeups in the front office. We're going to talk about all that today. Some GM candidates, the Howie Roseman and Chip Kelly dynamic. We got it all today. We got it all covered, and we're doing it live. Mike, how you doing?
Well, I'm doing a lot better, today than I was doing a few days ago when the Eagles almost gave us a heart attack. You know, I had to send you a text message because I was worried about these reports that were coming out that possibly Chip Kelly wanted out of his contract in Philadelphia. And, all of a sudden, I started to have thoughts about if we can really, trust Chip. Is this a guy that's just going to get up and leave? He doesn't have a family. He doesn't have a wife. I mean, it was a real possibility. But Chip knew that we had been his supporters from day one. And, well, in the end, it turned out, to be a perfect situation for us because the Eagles made some alignments in their front office, and now Chip Kelly is in total control, and he's pretty much the Bill Belichick of Philadelphia.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And going back to, us being scared and shit, I was frightened for about a minute, until I realized where these reports came from and who said what and all that. See, the problem with social media is you got to find the guys that you trust, because I forget the one guy, but the second guy I know for a fact was from the Bleacher Report, okay? The fucking Bleacher Report. The Bleacher Report is a joke. You can't take any of those guys seriously. I wrote for the Bleacher Report when I was in college, so you can't take any of the things that those guys say seriously. I mean, it's like it's a fan-driven site. Yeah, they've gotten more professional over the years, ever since they became affiliated with Turner Sports. But so you had some guy named Bryn Schwartz saying this, and some other no-name reporter saying that Chip might leave Philadelphia. So, of course, the bitter birds, we get a little bit concerned. We're scrambling for answers. And then, of course, a couple hours later, we hear from Jeffrey Lurie that the shakeup in the front office was made. Howie Roseman is now a pencil boy again. And Chip Kelly, like you said, has all the power.
Yeah, and you nailed it there, right on the head, that all these reports were coming from sources outside of Philadelphia. These weren't the Eagles beat reporters that were reporting this. Usually that's where most of the information comes from with the Eagles, is from the beat reporters that follow the team every day. Then, you also had Pro Football Talk reporting that something big was going to happen in Philadelphia. Now, this was all happening because it came out, when the Eagles had fired, Gamble, everyone thought that, that was Chip's guy. And everyone came to these conclusions that Chip Kelly was pissed off, and thus he wanted out of his contract, when in reality it doesn't seem like that was really the situation. We really don't know what went down, at the NovaCare complex, but we do know that Gamble got fired for whatever reasons. People thought that that was Chip's guy. It's starting to seem like maybe Chip possibly wanted Gamble out too, but it doesn't seem like Chip was happy with the way that Roseman and Lurie decided to fire Gamble. So I kind of set off this stage of fireworks here. But in the end, it all worked out. Chip's in control, and now Howie Roseman is no longer the GM, which he's been since 2010 with us, and he's back to being a pencil man and working on the salary cap. So it actually worked out in the end.
The salary cap boy! Yeah. All right. So basically the reports that we saw were, Chip wanted out of his contract. But to me, it just seems like he put all of his chips on the table, and, well, the Eagles, they folded their hand. He bluffed the shit out of them, and now he's got more power, and now he's basically overseeing the draft, all that stuff. He's still got to find a GM. We will get to some general manager candidates later on in the show. But right now we're going to talk a little bit more about the Howie Roseman and Chip Kelly dynamic, because we know Chip's been responsible for the last two drafts, but we don't know who's been making the picks, really. So this is where we're going to discuss this. Basically, his first draft in Philadelphia was, a pretty good one, but last year's draft, not so much. And we basically want to find out who the fuck was the guy that wanted Marcus Smith. Now, it's interesting because just from hearing the background talk and all that, just from hearing Chip Kelly wanting Jordan Matthews in the first round, to us, it seems like Howie Roseman is the guy that wanted Marcus Smith. We still don't know this for a fact, but it just seems that way.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely agree there. I think that it was, a combination of Chip Kelly and Howie Roseman with the Marcus Smith pick. But I think deep down, Chip Kelly really wanted to take Jordan Matthews there in the first round, and Roseman kind of convinced, Chip to take Marcus Smith in the first round, and Roseman was like, look, I probably think we can get, Jordan Matthews early in the second round if we, trade up a little bit. That's what they ended up doing, and it worked out. But, thank God it did work out because Jordan Matthews and it had a great, rookie season. So then there's other, reports out there that kind of favor Howie Roseman and how Roseman, kind of talked Chip Kelly out of drafting a guy like Taylor Hart earlier than they did. So you really don't know here with all the reports that are going on, and that's why it makes it tough to really judge, Chip Kelly on his, talent evaluation because we just don't know who was really, calling the shots here in the past two drafts. It seems like it was really a combination of the two of them. I'm sure Roseman got some of his guys and Chip got some of his guys. And I think it's, obvious when you look at the past two drafts. But now it's, it's all on Chip. So we're really going to see, how he does. And we can really evaluate Chip with this draft coming up.
Yeah, and you basically just brought up a point that I was going to talk about, him having a little bit less experience than a lot of guys that have the power. I mean, he's third year in the NFL now, and he's going to be overseeing the draft and picking all these players. And his experience, you hit it on the head there. I mean, he wanted Taylor Hart in the third round of the draft, and Howie convinced him, you could probably get him in the fifth round. And this is what I'm concerned about, because I don't know if anyone's going to be in his ear chirping him off, saying, say they pick some guy this year that they reach for. We'll see. That's the main concern for me is the draft and him reaching for guys. I mean, like for instance, Ifo Epre-Olumu, cornerback from Oregon. This is a guy that I think the Eagles are probably going to get. I think you can take him in the second or third round. He tore his ACL, before the Rose Bowl. That Oregon obviously beat Florida State pretty good. Nice little ass kicking of Jameis. Jameis is now eating crab legs again. So 59-20 there. But so you have that, and I don't know. We'll see. I mean, what do you think, Mike? I'm a little bit worried. I feel like you have a little bit more confidence than I do. My expectations for him, I really don't know. I'm really concerned about his inexperience in this situation.
Well, I look at these past two drafts here with Chip and Howie really, and with Chip, he's the type of guy I feel like on all the offensive side of the ball, he's a pretty good talent evaluator. I mean, you got to look at it. He's gotten guys like Jordan Matthews and Zach Ertz, and they're really going forward for the future. They're really going to be two key components to this offense. So as far as the offensive side of the ball goes, I think he's going to be just all right. But the problem comes on the defensive side of the ball because that's really not Chip's forte. So that's why when they go out and they do this, GM search, they got to make sure they bring in a guy here, who has experience and can go out and teach Chip about these defensive players. And also the thing with this new GM is he's gonna have to kind of do things like Howie did, and tell Chip where he thinks guys rank on other teams' boards, because it seems like that's the thing that Chip has kind of had a problem with here, is evaluating where guys rank on other teams' boards. So if they can get that ironed out, I think that Chip Kelly will do all right. But the major thing that concerns me about going forward with these drafts here, makes me think of the past, and we haven't been too successful with drafting defensive players. And this is a key, moment here for the Eagles in the present and going forward, because they really need to focus on their defense. And this year's draft is mainly going to be defense, which is not really Chip's forte. So they got to make sure they bring in the right GM.
Yeah, and that's another reason why I'm concerned, because they've kind of wasted, not well, I shouldn't say wasted some picks, but in times, in rounds that they've needed defense, they've gone offense. Josh Huff, 3rd round last year. Did they really need him in the 3rd round? They could have gotten a corner or something. They take Zach Ertz in the 2nd round, 2013. Obviously, we love Zach Ertz and all that, but probably could have went defense. You drafted Matt Barkley in the 4th round in 2013. So again, they pass up the defense and go take an offensive guy. So I'm just hoping that they go cornerback, safety this year. I hope they don't refrain from doing that. I don't want a wide receiver early unless Kevin White falls to us. I don't want a quarterback. I don't want anyone from offense. We need defensive guys, and we'll see about his talent evaluation skills. And it's going to be important to hire a GM that's not a yes man. We need a guy that's going to challenge Chip. All right, we want them to butt heads. That's what we want. We don't want some guy, yes, Chip, and then bringing him coffee and shit. No, we don't want that.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. We wanted them to butt heads, but also be able to be friends in the end, because it seems like Chip and Howie kind of butted heads, and well, it didn't work out too well. They're not best friends, so they need to bring a guy in here who's going to be close with Chip, a guy that he can spend a lot of time with, because I don't think that Chip Kelly and Howie Roseman were going out and having nice dinners and talking about football. So we'll see. But hopefully the Eagles bring in the right guy, and I think it worked out in the end for him, with Roseman really just handling the salary cap. Roseman, he's a guy that actually he turned into an all right talent evaluator. Initially, he wasn't that good, but over time, he kind of developed into, an average talent evaluator. But his calling has always been the salary cap. So now he can just focus on that, and mainly, this is in his job title, he can focus on the equipment staff.
Oh man, yeah. Make sure those face masks are on there tight, Howie. Get that screwdriver out. All right, so let's talk about these drafts now. The last 2 years during this Chip Kelly reign, we already discussed. Obviously last year's draft was, well, it looks like a failure. We don't know yet, really. Okay, like we're saying Marcus Smith is a bust, but hey, you never know. You can turn it around. But 2013, all right. Lane Johnson, 4th overall pick. He's been fine. But I'm just going to run down these names. Zach Ertz, 2nd round. Benny Logan, 3rd round. Matt Barkley, 4th round. Earl Wolf, 5th round. 7th round, Jordan Poyer. And also Joe Kruger in the 7th round. So that was our draft in 2013. Not really that bad, Benny Logan's been a great great find in the third round. Ertz obviously coming along as the season concluded. Lane Johnson, I mean, he's a road grader in the run game. Obviously, has to get a little bit better in pass protection. But so your first 3 rounds there, you hit on. Matt Barkley, obviously, we can't stand him. He sucks. And Earl Wolf, well, he was okay in his rookie season, but coaching staff wasn't too high on him last season. So what are your thoughts on that draft?
Yeah, that draft was actually pretty decent. You really can't complain there. The key in a draft is really to hit on your early picks, and they, for the most part, they did that in the 2013 draft, and it was a tough act to follow up after their 2012 draft. In 2012 was probably Howie Roseman's best draft. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, they got Fletcher Cox, Kendricks, Vinnie Curry, Nick Foles, and Brandon Boykin with their first 5 picks that year, and all 5 of those guys have turned out to be contributors on this football team today. So, really getting those picks early on and getting them right is key. And then that's why you go and you look at this past year, and if you mess up that first pick, like it seems like they might have with Marcus Smith, it can really set you back, because that it doesn't allow you to take maybe another guy that could become a contributor on the team.
Yeah, I mean, there's a guy named Jason Verrett that was available at cornerback when last year instead of taking Marcus Smith, and Verrett's been a pretty damn good corner for the Chargers, and that there was a lot of guys they could have taken. But hey, it happened. That's who we took. We have to live with it. But we've kind of said this before. I mean, if you flip-flop, Jordan Matthews and Marcus Smith in the second round, I mean, maybe it doesn't look so bad. But all right, so let's talk about the guys we took last year. Marcus Smith, obviously, first round. Jordan Matthews has been a hit. 67 catches, 872 yards, 8 touchdowns in his first season in Philadelphia. Oh man, this is the pick that hurts. Josh Huff, third round, because there's all these rookie wide receivers out there that had tremendous seasons, and Josh Huff didn't do shit. He sucked. I hate Josh Huff. I don't even want him on my team. Maybe he'll develop into something, I don't know. But when you see guys like John Brown beating us from Arizona, you see all these great receivers, rookie receivers in the NFL, and then there's Josh Huff. All he does is put the ball on the ground. All right, so 4th round, Jalen Watkins. 5th round, Taylor Hart. Also 5th round, Ed Reynolds and our boy Bo Allen in the 7th round. So you hit on Jordan Matthews, and that's about it. And Bo Allen.
Bo Allen.
Bo Allen's a freaking
Yeah,
monster.
well, I was gonna say it's kind of ironic because Bo Allen was our last pick, but I mean, besides Jordan Matthews there, Bo Allen played the best out of that rookie class. So kind of ironic that he was the last pick. But yeah, besides that, I mean, that's why drafts you really can't grade them until a few years down the road, because really the guys that we don't know about yet, I mean, we can make our own judgments, but we don't know yet. Guys like Marcus Smith, Watkins, and Hart, guys that we really don't know yet. They could turn into something, and if they do, then this draft isn't looking too bad. But right now, it's not looking too good, especially with Marcus Smith missing on that first pick is something that you don't want to get into a habit of doing. Now, every great coach no one's perfect. They're going to have their mistakes. So let's just hope that if Marcus Smith, turns out to be a bust, that that's the only mistake that Chip Kelly really makes.
Yeah, and the other guy that we should keep an eye on as the years progress is Jalen Watkins. He was rotating between safety and quarterback this season, but he finally got a chance to play in the last game against the Giants, and I thought he played fairly well. So I think he's a guy to look at. I don't know if you remember, I was a guy that liked Watkins when they drafted him. Obviously, never really got an opportunity to play this season, so we'll see how he progresses, and that's the guy I'm keeping an eye on.
Yeah, I would definitely say keep an eye on him because he's got the best chance to turn into something. I don't really think that Hart is going to turn into anything or Marcus Smith. So, yeah, I would say Watkins is a guy to keep an eye out. He'll definitely get more playing time coming up this season.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about some other head coaches that have been given the power over everything. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We'll start with the guys that it's worked for. Pete Carroll from Seattle. He's a guy that has all the power, talent evaluations, all that. Seattle Seahawks, well, they're a pretty good team. Bill Belichick, obviously, we referenced him earlier. And then these are the two prime examples of when it works out. Pete Carroll has been outstanding. I mean, to draft Richard Sherman in, the fourth round or whatever it was, I mean, that's pretty damn good. So, you know, they're in contention to win another Super Bowl. So those are the two guys that stick out for me.
Yeah, well, whenever you give a guy this much power, it's a very risky situation.
Hmm.
But I feel like with Chip Kelly, it's something that they had to do if they wanted to keep him here. And I feel like with Chip Kelly, it's really a high risk, high reward situation. The Eagles just couldn't afford to let Chip Kelly walk away, and I feel like the only way that Chip Kelly was gonna stay here is if he had full control of this team. And from what we've seen here in the first 2 years under Chip Kelly, it's hard to disagree with what Laurie did because he's been pretty successful. Chip Kelly is a very smart man, and now he's still learning some things in the NFL. But it's just a matter of him putting it all together. So I think it's an exciting time for Eagles fans because now we really get to see what this Chip Kelly team can do because we know that it won't be Roseman behind the scenes as well. This is going to be all Chip Kelly going forward.
Mm. Now, I got three names for you that have been complete disasters. Mike Shanahan from the Redskins got complete control, didn't do so hot. Mike Sherman, Green Bay Packers, after the 2001 draft, he was given general manager duties. That didn't really turn out to be too hot either. But the biggest, worst bust of them all, Josh McDaniels. Oh my God. You trade Jay Cutler, you trade Brandon Marshall, you fucking draft Tim Tebow, you trade a future first round pick to get a second round pick, and you draft Alphonso Smith. Alphonso Smith was traded like a year or two later for a backup tight end. So that whole experiment was a disaster. McDaniels also brought in like a lot of New England free agents that were already past their primes. I mean, yeah, McDaniels was an absolute disaster. I don't know what Denver was thinking to give him all control.
Yeah, I don't know either, but that's why you talk about those names where it didn't work out, and that's why it's such a risky situation. I mean, you really don't know how it's going to turn out. You just got to hope for the best. But I think that with Chip Kelly here, we should be all right. We've trusted him from day one, so we got to put all our faith in him now.
Yeah, just hopefully his ego doesn't get in the way, because obviously he got in the way for Josh
Yeah.
McDaniels. Trading Brandon Marshall and Jay Cutler. And then you draft Tim Tebow. Could have taken Tebow like second or third round, and they draft him for. Oh boy. Yeah. All right. So those are some candidates. Well, not candidates, but head coaches that have been given the power, and some of them, well, some pan out, some don't. So now we're going to talk some general manager candidates, and there's one guy that pops off the page that we want. But first, let me just throw some couple names out there for you guys. God, I'm going to screw this guy's name up. Ed
Man,
Manovitz. is one of the guys. He's in-house guy, Eagles, with the Eagles right now. The guy that we want is Mark Ross. He's from the Giants. He was with the Eagles before, from '97 to 2004. We'll get into him in a bit. From the Detroit Lions, you got Sheldon White. From the Dallas Cowboys, you got Will McClay. Green Bay Packers, Alonzo Highsmith. Seattle Seahawks, Todd Bruner. And from the Pittsburgh Steelers, Brandon Hunt. So those are some GM candidates. But we're going to focus on two guys, Manovitz and Ross from the Giants.
Yeah, really, the thing is, you have two totally different guys here. You got one guy with a lot of experience, and you got another guy with very little experience. Manowitz is a guy who's younger. I believe he's only like 30 years old. Pretty much, he's like our age. He's a guy that's kind of
What do you mean? I'm not 30.
No, we're not yet. We're getting there, though.
We're not allowed. No, don't reveal our ages.
Good, close enough. So, but he's a guy that Chip Kelly really likes. He's impressed him a lot here so far in Philadelphia. Now, Ross, on the other hand, is a guy who's been with the Eagles before, like you said, and he's really he was a key, early on in early in Andy Reid's tenure in drafting some pro ball players, especially on defense here. The Eagles, drafted guys like Corey Simon, Lito Shepherd, Sheldon Brown, Mike Lewis, Brian Westbrook, all these type of guys during his stay with the Eagles. And when he moved on, to the Bills, he helped them draft guys like, Marshawn Lynch, Paul Posluszny, Don Whitner, and tackle Kyle Williams. And then he moved on to the Giants, getting guys like Justin Pugh, John Hankins, Weston Richburg, Andre Williams, and Odo Beckham. So obviously Ross is he's a very good talent evaluator. That is one thing that you keep hearing about him, is that he is an excellent talent evaluator. If you ever watch the show, which I've seen bits and parts of it, it's called Finding Giants on the NFL Network, and it's about a show, and it really goes and looks at the Giants scouting department, and he's one of the main guys on the show. And I mean, you look at recently at the Giants drafts, and they've really stockpiled some guys, especially Odo Beckham this past year. So Ross, it's looking like if we can pry him away from the Giants, and he is a hometown guy. He is from Pennsylvania, so Princeton guy too. He's a smart guy, so he's a guy that we should really focus on.
Wait, you're saying just because he went to Princeton that he's smart?
Yes.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, he's the guy that we're all over. We're just slobbing on his dick. I mean, we want this guy real bad. They say that there's no better talent evaluator in the league than him. So obviously, Mike just listed off a bunch of names that he drafted, and the thing that's key for me is the fact that he's drafted all these defensive guys, because we need a defensive mind right now. Especially, let Chip handle offense, and Ross, he can go handle defense. And I think Ross is a guy that has enough experience in the league to, kind of tell Chip, some things. So this Manovitz guy, he's 30 years old. I don't know. Thing is, we know Chip's a loyal guy, and the loyalty might come into play in this situation, but I don't know if I trust a 30-year-old with Chip Kelly. I don't know. I'm not really buying that. So Ross is the guy I want. They got to do everything in their power to get him. He's a Philly guy. Went to Princeton. He's smart. So he's obviously smarter than me. I went to Temple. So, yeah. Ross is the guy I want. And another thing about Ross, He wanted to draft Reggie Wayne over Freddie Mitchell.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
oh, we would have won a
man.
Super Bowl, damn it.
Yeah, well, I went back and I had to take a look at that, the 2001 NFL draft here. And the Eagles, well, they picked Freddie Mitchell at the 25th pick. And then the Colts took Reggie Wayne with the 30th pick. And in between those picks, there wasn't another wide receiver taken. So really, it was a Freddie Mitchell or Reggie Wayne, and well, the Eagles went with Fred X and Ross. One of the Eagles, they go with Reggie Wayne.
Yeah, I just want to thank my hands for being so great through the belt. Oh, Freddie. I wonder what Freddie's doing these days. What do you think? What do you think he works for? Where do you think what he's doing? I'm sure he's a salesman somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know. A few years back, I remember seeing, some videos of him on YouTube with like a cowboy hat on, out in the desert. Who knows? He's probably, doing something with animals. He's a character, that guy. But yeah, so we got stuck with Fred X, and he's only famous for his 4th and 26 here in Philadelphia when well Reggie Wayne would have provided a lot more than that. So yeah, those are our guys. I think that Ross would be our leading candidate, and then Manowitz is obviously up there. Then the other guy that they could there is probably a strong candidate is Sheldon White from the Lions. So I think that in the end they're going to pick one of those three guys.
Yeah, totally agree with you. So there you go. Those are who we want. Those are the guys we want. Um, Basically talked everything that we needed to talk about today. We weren't going to make this a long show. So yeah, that's the GM situation. That's the Chip Kelly situation. Everything. Anything else you can talk about, Mike?
No, that's about it. I mean, really, in the upcoming weeks, especially in the upcoming weeks when the season is all over, it'll be interesting to see when they start making some moves, start getting rid of guys, because then we'll really be able to tell what kind of roster Chip Kelly wants.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, we did forget to talk about something. We forgot to talk about the free agents that we brought in and stuff like that.
Uh,
Yeah, we totally forgot. But Chip's brought in some guys. Some have panned out. Some haven't. Obviously guys that come to mind that have panned out. Acquired Darren Sproles in a trade. I mean, that's worked out beautifully. Connor Barwin was a signing. See, the Eagles, they like to do with under this Chip Kelly regime. They don't like to go spend money on the big name free agents. They like to settle for guys that are in the middle of the class. And it's panned out for Malcolm Jenkins. It's panned out for Connor Barwin. Not so much for Bradley Fletcher, Kerry Williams. Not so much. Patrick Chung sucked. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, you look at those names, and it's really been hit or miss so far. So they've really hit on some guys there, and well, they've really missed on some other ones. So we'll see what happens going forward. And well, the first thing we'll have to look forward to is to see who they pick for this new GM position.
Yeah, yeah. And even some other names, special teams, Chris Maragos. How could we forget about him? I mean, he's been outstanding. So, yeah, special teams, best unit in the league this year. So there you go. All right, so those are names. Do you want to talk about this Cowboys game or no?
Well, we can talk about it very briefly. Obviously, the non-call that everybody is talking about here. I don't really have that big of a problem with them picking up the flag per se. My biggest problem is that they allowed Des Bryant to run onto the field with his helmet off and complain. Uh, you're not allowed to run onto the field and have your helmet off like that. It should have been a 15-yard penalty. Now, ironically, Odell Beckham, the last game of the regular season against us, he took his helmet off during a play and did not get called for a penalty either. And in that same game that we're just talking about, this Lions Cowboys game, DeMarco Murray actually scored a touchdown and took his helmet off as well for briefly. So this is something that they have to address in the off season, is this taking your helmet off.
It's funny that you bring that up because I remember there was a game like 10 years ago. Final play of the game. I think the Chiefs were involved in this game. I don't remember who they played. But basically, there was a field goal on the last play of the game, and I think it was missed. But a guy from the Chiefs, he started celebrating, took his helmet off, and then got flagged 15 yards for a penalty. So obviously the next kick, I think it was Seattle, Kansas City. I could be completely wrong, but I know Kansas City was the team that lost. So they get the penalty, and then the next field goal attempt was good, and the Chiefs lost 40-39. So I remember this game very vividly, and that's what this situation reminded me of. Except they didn't throw a flag on Dez Bryant, So yeah, I agree with you. I really didn't think that that was really a pass interference on Brandon Pettigrew. I feel like we're in the minority here. I've seen a lot worse calls, than that. We've seen Bradley Fletcher not turn his head around, but there was minimal contact. I didn't really think it was a flag. So to say that the Lions lost because of that, though, don't really agree with that. I mean, the guy shanked a punt. 10-yard punt. Come on. You had a 4th and 1 at midfield. You didn't go for it. Tony Romo still had to go drive the length of the field. Now, I will say that Cowboys offensive line was holding the shit out of the Lions, but, whatever.
Yeah, no. Yeah, you're right. The other problem I had with them picking up the flag was that they should have discussed the flag before they threw it. They kind of threw the flag, then and then they actually called the penalty. Then they discussed it, then they picked up the flag. So they definitely should have had more chemistry on that play with throwing the flag. If anything, it should have been a defensive holding call, but they didn't decide to call it. But like you said, yeah, the main thing there was really the Lions' inability to convert down the stretch there in those final few minutes. The Lions, a lot of people forget that they had the ball again, and they could have went down the field and drove down and won the game, but in typical Lions fashion, they faltered and the Cowboys won. So, yeah, I had once the Cowboys scored that touchdown, the game was over. I had no faith in Stafford to lead the Lions down the field. So, yeah, that's why the Lions haven't won a playoff game since 1991.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't want to hear this bullshit from you Cowboys fans that Tony Romo has now shaken the label of being a choke artist. Come on. He's now 2-4 in the playoffs, okay? And let's take into account who he played in December, okay? These defenses that he played. Chicago, Philadelphia. Who else did he play? Jacksonville. Come on.
Yeah, well,
Christ. Chris Christie could have thrown 10 touchdowns.
Well, Chris Christie could have with the time that they, gave Romo on that, final drive there. But I actually thought that Romo looked pretty bad throughout that entire Lions game.
I didn't think he looked that good.
No, the first half he looked pretty awful. He was missing a lot of throws, but the last drive, once again, the Cowboys' offensive line, even though they were holding, they really, gave him all the time in the world to complete a pass back there, and his wide receivers eventually got open because the Lions' secondary isn't that great, and that's what happens when you allow Romo to stand back there for 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Now, honestly, the stats don't indicate this, but I thought Stafford outplayed Romo.
Yeah, no, Stafford wasn't that bad at all actually. The problem was the Lions just didn't have enough weapons on offense to match up with the Cowboys and their offensive weapons.
Yeah, and honestly, if Stafford would have gotten all the time that Romo did in the second half, I mean, I think
Oh,
Stafford would have done pretty damn good too. Okay, so I don't want to hear this bullshit from you Cowboys fans. All right, if you want to shake the label, then go beat Green Bay in Green Bay. Okay, then maybe I will
yeah,
start giving you some credit. All right, you don't shake a playoff label because you beat a fucking team that hasn't won a playoff game in over 20 years. Okay, the Lions, they're known for this. They're known for losing. They're the city of losers. All right. So
yeah.
if there's a team that is worse than the Cowboys when it comes to playoff time, it's the Lions. Does that clap remind you of anybody?
Who'd say?
Oh, you know who it is. Oh man.
Yeah, well, if if we would have beat the Lions, we wouldn't be jumping up and down and doing jumping jacks. I mean, we would be happy that we won a playoff game. But yeah, like you said, the reality is that if the Cowboys want to make a statement in the in the league this year, they got to go to Lambeau Field and beat the Packers, which isn't going to happen. The Packers have had a week to rest up. They're ready to go. I think that they've been watching, film on the Cowboys for 2 weeks now because they knew the Lions weren't going to win. So Rodgers will be ready to go, and yeah, I think that most of the country right now just can't wait to watch the Packers annihilate them.
You know, honestly, I think the Cowboys have a shot. And it's not because of Romo. It's because of Murray. I think if they can run the ball, because the Packers aren't that great at stopping the run. So if you can run the ball, keep Rodgers off the field, that's how you can win the game. Are they going to win the game? No, absolutely not. But I think they can hang around. I think they could, I don't know what the line is for the game. I haven't looked at the spreads yet, but I can see Dallas, covering. I don't see them winning, but I can see them covering.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be close at all. I think that I think you're giving the Cowboys too much credit.
Oh.
I mean, I'll give credit to the Cowboys defense because they've really shocked everyone. I mean, everyone thought that they were going to be absolutely horrible, but they've actually been playing, pretty decent throughout the season. But I think that this is a game at Lambeau Field where Aaron Rodgers, his eyes just light up, and I think that he's going to see that secondary. I mean, Jordy Nelson's going to have himself a day. So I mean, we saw what Rodgers did to the Eagles secondary, and the Cowboys secondary isn't that much better.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. You know who that is too, right?
Yeah.
Inside jokes that none of our viewers are gonna understand. All right, so yeah, so I'm giving the Cowboys more credit than you are. Yeah, so that is all right. So do we want to talk about these other games, or do we just want to finish the show?
It's up to you. You've got to go soon, so you let me
Yeah,
know.
that's true. I do have to leave around 4:30. It's Ukrainian Christmas Eve today. Awesome. Yeah.
Well, by the way, I guess that I'll be cheering against the Patriots since my
Oh
surprise.
my God, I forgot about that.
I shouldn't have brought it up.
well,
Well, my
well,
surprise pick in the AFC was going to be the Steelers, but I was obviously banking on Le'Veon Bell playing, and well, that backfired.
yeah, it's not really fair because yeah, Bell was like such a major contributor to that team. Now I don't remember did I pick the Ravens or I picked the Steelers. I don't know, but
No, the bet was just on
yeah, I
the
know.
Super
Yeah,
Bowl.
the Super Bowl. And I picked the Patriots. Now I'll tell you what though, the Ravens. If there's a team that could beat the Patriots, it's the Ravens. I think the Ravens have a better shot to beat them in Foxborough than Denver does.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the Ravens, they got back, Nada along that defensive line, against the Steelers and going forward here, and he's a pretty big contributor. He's a large body, key against stopping the run. So, yeah, it's definitely going to help the Ravens out, and they've shown it before that they can go into New England and win.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the best game of the divisional round because I don't see Dallas. I mean, I see like the basically what I see with the Dallas game. I see Green Bay being up like a touchdown, 10 points for like the duration of the game. Even though I think Dallas will hang around. I don't see Indy going into Denver winning. I don't see that at all. Obviously, Carolina's not going into Seattle. So Ravens, Patriots. I think it's going to come down to like a field goal, and that should be the game to watch. Be played in the low 20s. And, whenever those two get together, it's always close. So I'm looking forward to that one. That's the first game, too. So 4:30 Saturday on NBC.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be the game of the weekend there. So definitely we'll be looking forward to that one.
Yep. So there you go. All right. So we just kind of, breezed through the playoff bracket there. Talked everything that we wanted to talk about today. We were concerned about how long the show was going to be. Well, we still went like 45 minutes.
Yeah, we always, think that we're gonna go like 30 minutes, then we
Yeah.
go way overboard. But
Yeah.
I think that we just got so excited because we haven't been, able to do a show together in a while. So we
Yeah.
just started talking and talking, and here we are.
Yeah. Well, it is final thoughts time, so you get to have your final say, and then we will end the show.
Yeah, well, it seems like this past week in Philadelphia, Tom Gamble decided that he wasn't going to be, joining the smoothie program anymore. He put up a big protest, and obviously the Eagles were not happy about this. Chip Kelly wasn't a fan. Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie obviously have really bought into the smoothie program. They've become big advocates, and they were not happy at all. They kicked Campbell right out of the door. They had to escort him out, and he is no longer a part of the smoothie program. He got his membership card taken away from him. So now Chip Kelly will have to bring in a new smoothie mascot.
Awesome. Now that's not on Roseman's job title. He's just in charge of face masks and equipment.
Exactly. Yes. Instead of the water boy, Roseman is the smoothie boy. He makes sure that all the smoothies are prepared nicely for the players when they come off the practice field.
Oh man. All right. That's it for today. That's Mike Owens. I'm Adrian Fedque. Let's hope we get a good smoothie man in here. Take care, all. Later.
So, yeah.
Go Birds. Go Birds.